All right, y'all. Right now we're going to do the buttercream process for this Winnie the Pooh stamp. And instead of doing fondant, this is going to be with buttercream. So each first order and starter kit will come with a recipe card with our rolled buttercream recipe. And this tells you how to make it and everything. And there's lots of resources online. You can find out how to make rolled buttercream online. There's lots of videos and stuff like that. I really like rolled buttercream because I love the flavor of it. I think it tastes awesome. And so when I just really, one of my big things was I really wanted a way to use these, but for rolled buttercream, since here in America it is not easy to get good fondant. I mean, I can order it off Amazon, but I can't go to Hobby Lobby and buy it. Anyway, okay, so when you get your stamp set, you'll see that in set, you'll have a cutter with some yellow cutters on the side of it. So the yellow cutters, these are the buttercream cutters, okay? So we're gonna be using the full set in order to do these. So the first thing that we're gonna do, we've got our cookie baked, ready to go. We wanna roll out a base. You know, you don't have to do this. You could just cut out the yellow for the Pooh Bear and put him on the cookie, and then cut out the red for the balloon and put it on the cookie. But I like to have a base on there so it still has that real cute two-tone effect. So normally what I do is I use a piece of parchment paper folded in half, but that's really noisy on videos, so I won't do that to you. So even though I normally use a piece of parchment paper folded in half, for the sake of the video, I'm just going to use this silicone sheet. Okay, so I'm going to put the buttercream in between the silicone sheet and get my rolling pin. And I'm just going to roll it out. It doesn't really matter how thick or thin you roll it out. That's totally up to you. It's, you know, whatever you like. Buttercream it's very soft. I mean, as the name suggests, very, very soft. So it can be difficult to handle, especially when it's room temperature. So I have a trick. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my cookie shape. This is the same shape as my cookies. I'm just going to clear this buttercream out of here. And obviously when I'm doing a batch of cookies, I usually do several of these at a time, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to show you one at a time. So clear this buttercream out. Okay. Lift that up. Okay, that looks good. Now if I try to pick this up just like that, it'll totally just fall apart in my hands because it's really soft. So there's two ways you can handle this. You can fold this over and put it on a cookie sheet and stick it in the freezer for like just a minute. It does not take long for butter to harden in the freezer and become stiff enough to where you can pick it up, put it on the cookie. But I have found that it is much easier and much quicker. I got one of these. Gosh, I hope I can get it in the frame. It's like real thin. So it's for making rolled ice cream, which is some sort of like, I don't know, some kind of ice cream treat. But I found this on Amazon. It's about $15. And you keep it in the deep freezer or freezer, and it's ready to go. So it saves me a lot of trips to the freezer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Pooh Bear buttercream, and again, like normally I'm doing a couple of these at a time. I'm just going to have it sit here on the freezer block for a minute while I'm working on other parts of the cookie. So again, I always make sure I have my colors ready. This is going to be the yellow for Pooh Bear. It's like an electric yellow because I used a natural food dye that's turmeric based, and I used too much of it. So please pardon the color palette. It's not the best. And then I've also got this pink. It's kind of hard to tell. It kind of blends in with the pink back here. But anyway, this is pink buttercream, and it's been colored with some pink dragon fruit. And I think I should have added more, but when I'm doing the rolled buttercream, you can obviously use, you know, a different brand or something of food dye, but I really like to use natural food dyes when I'm working with the rolled buttercream. And the other cool thing about rolled buttercream is if you want, you know, you can actually source like organic sugar and organic flour and, or sorry, not flour. Or organic sugar and organic butter. So it's really easy to keep the rolled buttercream ones like really, really clean. So that's why I like to use natural food dyes with rolled buttercream. Anyway, all right, I think I've been talking long enough. So as I stated in the fondant video, you know, you take some of your corn syrup water or royal icing mix or whatever and just put it on the cookie. Okay, set that aside. Now I'm going to bring my freezer board back over here, and it's definitely stiffened up enough to where I can now handle it, and I can now place this onto the cookie exactly where I want without the buttercream ripping. Okay, so there we go. Now our cookie is prepped and we're ready to do our Pooh Bear and our balloon. Now before I go on to those parts, I'll set my freezer board over here. I'm going to take my acrylic scraper and just kind of clean this off. And again, usually I'm using a piece of parchment paper folded in half to do this, but I don't want to make all that sound, so I'm just going to use that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the Pooh Bear. So I'm going to roll out some yellow. Same thing as what we did for the base of buttercream. We're just going to kind of smash it down, roll it out. Here we go. Again, how thick or thin you like to have it, it's totally up to you. The only thing is you do need to have it thick enough, which I probably need to re-roll that. You want to have it thick enough to be able to pick up the depth and the dimension in the stamp, which is a couple of millimeters. So don't roll it too thin. You need to have some depth so that when you squish that stamp on there, it can grab all of the detail. Okay, so before I stamp that in, just to make sure it doesn't stick, I'm going to use my duster, put a little bit of corn flour on here. I like to put a little bit on the rolled buttercream as well. And then this is when I'm going to use my fan brush, kind of clean it up a bit, just kind of tap that out. Okay, now all I need, because I'm just doing the Pooh Bear in yellow, I only need to stamp the Pooh Bear. So what I'm going to do is just take this, and again, like normally I'm doing several of these at a time, but I'm just going to do one for the video. Okay, so we got Pooh Bear. He's all good to go. So next I need to get my Pooh Bear buttercream cutter. And the buttercream cutters are designed to fit precisely over the design. So, which is a little tricky to do. You got to stand right over it when you got a phone in your way. That's a little bit tricky, but here we go. And you'll see that the stamp usually, your result, it usually sticks to your parchment, in this case silicone mat, which is great because I'm just going to leave it there. And I'm going to put it back on my freezer board like I did with my base buttercream. So that'll make it easy to handle. So I'm just going to, again, you don't have to have a freezer board. You can just put it on a cookie sheet and put it in the freezer for a second. And what I normally do is I have, so if I have a whole bunch of Pooh Bears that I just rolled and stamped and they're in the freezer or on the freezer board, then I would go ahead, I don't have another silicone mat, I would go ahead and roll out more to do and go ahead and start doing the balloons. So that by the time the balloons are ready to hit the freezer board, the Pooh Bears are done, just kind of keep the process going. So I am going to go ahead and, I need to learn where the mute is on this thing. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and use this to roll out the pink for the balloon. Again, not too thin. You want to leave enough depth and dimension so it can pick up the dimension of the stamp. And since this is the balloon, I'm just going to smash it down on here. There we go. Pull it up and use my fan brush to clean it. And then you go grab your buttercream stamp, fit it right over, okay, and lift it up and get that buttercream out of here. Okay, now because this is kind of a small piece of buttercream, it's not essential that it has to go on the freezer board because it's probably not like this long piece like the base buttercream. So we can probably just go ahead and transfer that. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer that over. And what I'm going to do is just place it right here on top of my base. Okay, so now our cookie is ready for the yellow buttercream, the Pooh Bear cutout. All right, so let's get ready for that. So that's been on the freezer board here. And so I'm going to take the silicone mat off the freezer board. Okay, and so the butter in this buttercream here, this Pooh Bear buttercream, it's had enough time to harden up to where I can transfer it onto the cookie now. So I'm just going to kind of do that. And while I'm holding it in my hand, this is a really good time to take your cookie scribe and just kind of like clean off any excess little bits that didn't get removed with the cutter, if that happens, and kind of tap it up. And another thing I love about buttercream, it's so easy to tidy it up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and you can adhere this with some royal icing or food glue or, corn syrup and water, whatever you like. But buttercream sticks pretty well to buttercream. So a lot of times I just put the buttercream on there. Just like that. Now, just like with the fondant, I really like to have some detail on here. So you can either have some royal icing and you can make an icing line, or you can use your food Sharpie and just put a little bit of detail on there. And I'm going to clean it up with my fan brush just one last time. And there you go. Now you have a two-toned cookie, but it's done with buttercream instead of fondant. So there you go. Pretty easy peasy.